3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Welcome to Mission Control, Peralta Design's podcast on all things branding and digital marketing. Since 2008, Peralta Design has launched hundreds of brands with award-winning identities and websites. Join our hosts Ramon and Jorge as they use decades of combined experience to tackle topics with past clients, industry partners, and the rest of the PD crew. At Peralta Design, we launch brands. But for now, let's launch right into this episode of Mission Control.
Hey, welcome to Mission Control, where we respect the grind and reclaim the American dream. I am your host, Ramon Peralta from Peralta Design, and we launch brands. Today's guest is a highly decorated Naval Officer Veteran and a United States Naval Academy graduate. She selflessly served in Virginia, Hawaii, Djibouti, Africa, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut, to include time at the Pentagon and SEAL Team 18. She is also a top 10 finalist in the 2019 Miss Veteran America competition. She's also the co-founder of Service After Service, a nonprofit that gives purpose to veterans as they transition from military service to public service. It's an amazing organization located right here in the Valley. Please help me welcome Miss Loni Richards. Welcome.
I love the audience clap.
Yes. they're a paid audience, actually.
All two of them.
Yeah. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for bringing the special guest.
Thank you for having her.
Would you like to introduce her as well?
I would. So her name is Loni Richards. She is, tomorrow she'll be 5 months old.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, baby. So she goes with me everywhere, my little sidekick.
Very cool. Very cool. So we know her backstory. It's only 5 months old, but what is yours? Tell us how you got here to where you are today.
Wow. That's loaded. So, I guess I can start with, I'm from Tennessee. Little Tennessee girl, Chattanooga, Tennessee. I grew up in a restaurant. My family had a restaurant called Chef's Underground Cafe. My dad was the mastermind and chef at that restaurant. We had that restaurant for about 11 years.
Wow.
I hated working there. I hated it.
What was your job there?
What wasn't my job there?
Right.
My job was not to clean the toilets. So I could actually be thankful for that. But everything else, waited tables, washed dishes. I did try to make, my dad had one of his specialty salads was a chicken liver salad. And I did try to make it one day, and I wasn't sure if he would let me. He had to step out for a moment, and I said, "Dad, I could do this salad. I could make it just like yours." Because I had been practicing. Okay. I'd watched him do it enough times, and he was like, "Girl, if you don't move and get out of my way." And so I was kind of a chef. I thought. I was a hostess,
yes.
Everything, cashier.
At what age?
Everything.
Because you probably started young.
So when you have a family restaurant, you're working before child labor laws legally allow you.
Right.
So this was I was probably in about 6th grade, 6th, 7th grade, because I have an older brother and sister too. Everybody was there. When I say, okay, she's fine, everybody.
All right. Just some sound effects. It's an actual real cough.
It's just an actual real cough. She's
drinking her milk?
Yes,
okay.
I'm feeding her now. So she is, she likes it at a certain pace.
Yeah. And she's already trying to hold it. Like, I see her little hand. Kind of, I got this.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a family business. I'm the baby of the family. Mm-hmm. So my older brother and sister were there. My mom was there. We all did everything. So it wasn't like I'm the only worker
Right.
there.
It's a team,
So,
family.
Yeah, absolutely a team event there. So started off in the family business. I actually got my first job from there. First real job, like out in the world away from my parents. I was, one of the customers came in and asked if I wanted to work at a rock climbing wall that was under one of the popular bridges downtown, Walnut Street Bridge. And one of the legs of the bridge was made out of stone, and they made a climbing wall out of it.
Sounds cool.
I said, yeah, let me go ask my dad. And so I run back to the kitchen. I asked him, and he was like, oh, I guess so. So I worked my first job. I was I don't know what you call them.
Like strapping the people in or putting the belts on them.
And you stand at the bottom of the wall there, and you're like strapped in, and it was a birthday party. And it was kind of, it was a little scary for me because I'd never done this before. And the guy was like, oh, you got it. You're going to be just fine. And I see the group, and I feel like super small, and like, I don't think I can hold anybody. And of course, I get like the person that I feel is going to be like the heaviest person, and she's coming right to me, and I'm just like, you don't want me to hold you. I know they say these little, the belay or whatever you call the little devices. They're strong. They can hold up to X amount of pounds. Yes, the carabiner and like all that stuff. And they say, oh, it can hold all these weight, over 100 pounds of weight. I'm like, look, I don't know about that little thing. I'm bigger than it, and I know what I can and can't hold, and I can't hold this woman.
She was like a couple 100 pounds or 300 pounds.
No, she wasn't that big, but she was, because I was still a child. Right. So, but from a child's perspective, I'm looking at this woman like, I can't hold you.
Yeah.
And so I did.
Wow.
I held her, and the little carabiner worked. They did exactly what the guy said. Of course, I did not believe him, but it did exactly what the guy said. And that was the only birthday party I worked. Oh, no. I got paid. I wasn't fired, but it was the only one that I ended up working that summer. I was back at the restaurant every day.
But did you get like the entrepreneur spirit from your parents having that
absolutely,
business? Yeah.
Absolutely. Because even once we got to, so we had the restaurant for about 11 years. Yeah. It wasn't very profitable in the end. That's usually why restaurants close. Yeah. And so we closed the restaurant, went on to some different ventures. And then my siblings went off to college, and I ultimately went off to the Naval Academy. And my parents had another restaurant that they opened up called Mrs. B's Reggae Cafe. And I never worked there, but, they always had like some, and that one was actually my mom's idea.
Oh, okay.
And it was named after my mom's mom, Frances Brown. Oh, wow. And so definitely the entrepreneurial spirit came from my parents. And then my military background, as surprising as it was to most, came from my dad, because he was not, we weren't a military family in the sense that we traveled around to different military bases, because we did not, but not when I was born. My brother and sister were born out in California. I have, two brothers, and they were all born out in California. Both my brothers and my sister. And so I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. And by the time I was born, my dad was out of the military.
Okay. So what branch was he in?
He was in the Navy.
Oh, okay.
The best service. And I say that because my husband's Air Force. Boo! Where's the hissing noises? Come on, sounds guy.
You got the sheet right here.
We're a little limited.
Then you have to actually say boo. You're the sound effect. No, but there's all this rivalry because I have friends that are in the Navy, and then the Marines guys say that the Navy just drives them and all this other stuff. And so
that's it. It's
and that the Air Force out of all of them is the easiest one. Is it the Coast Guard's the easiest, the quote unquote easiest one?
The Air Force, because we call them the Chair Force.
Ah.
But
thank you. Anyway, thank you for your service, regardless.
Thank you. My military background was inspired by my father, and the fact that I was a broke high school student of a working class family. And I knew that there was no money for me to go to college. So,
because you said that you had older siblings that were already kind of using up that money.
Yeah, they used up all my parents' money. Like there was nothing left for me. They were selfish. No, they weren't selfish. But my sister, for example, is a doctor, and as you can imagine, she still has school loans, student loans. So I would say none of my siblings really took a, I'm doing air quotes, easy path.
Yeah, right. We're just joking.
But so I knew by the time I was ready to go to college, I needed to figure something out. And
were you drawn to like the GI Bill or anything like that? Or one of those kind of...
No. Not at all. I knew nothing of it.
Yeah.
I knew nothing
of it.
ROTC,
what's the other one where you get some kind of tuition reimbursement?
So you can do ROTC. Each branch has their ROTC, and then each branch also has their service academy that trains officers. And I also recruit for the Naval Academy. We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
So I was drawn to none of that. I wanted nothing to do with the military. I felt I was too cute for that. I was always the one in school with my little platform shoes on, and I'll tell you a story. I remember this day in high school. I was feeling myself. I had these probably 2-inch platforms on. They were black, and it was like wide toe and like a thick, like chunky heel, like block heel, 2 inches. And I remember going down the steps, and and this is like not between classes, like during class. So I'm already feeling like, I'm special because I should have been in class.
You're a rebel.
And so I'm going down the steps, coming from the 3rd floor, going down to the basement, I think it was. And there was one of the lower classmen that was coming up the steps. I fall. And full on grab this kid's shoulder and like ride it down the steps.
Oh my God.
And I was so embarrassed. But, I was always like this fashionista in my own head.
Yeah.
There were certainly other fashionistas at school, but it wasn't really me. I thought I was. There was also the time I had these short braids and they called me Michael Jackson or a mystical. There was a time I had this...
Kids can be so mean.
So mean. I had this red pleather vest, and it was fine. And they called me Michael Jackson with that one, and like they got on me. But I promise I had a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Anyway, so military really wasn't my thing. I wasn't thinking about it, but I ran track in middle and high school, and I was very good at it. And my coach got a letter from the Naval Academy. Saying that they were expressing interest in me. And I took the letter, and actually my coach wasn't even, his name was Coach Tyler. And we're very close. I actually called him Grandpa Tyler. We went to the same church. And so we were very close, and he knew I wanted nothing to do with the military. He wasn't going to give me the letter.
Okay.
But his wife was like, you better give that girl that letter. And, I got the letter. I put it down for a week. Idiot. And I finally picked it up. I looked at it, some of the deadlines I had missed.
Oh, no.
And then I called the coach and I was like, hey, got this letter. I've missed some deadlines. What should I do? Should I just, leave it? Or,
right.
And she said, no, go ahead and apply. I'll take care of the rest. Now, back then, I swear I'm not old. Is that the second time I've said that? I swear I'm not old. Back then, it was a paper application. So it was like a full-on book, the application. And it took so much, and it's still a lot today. Interviewing with your Congress people, going for medical exams by approved medical examiners.
But this is because you're not going into the Navy, you're going into the Naval Academy.
Yes.
So it's like another, you have to be more vetted for that.
Yes, absolutely. And then you have to take physical tests for it that your high school coach can do. And so, all these different things you have to do. Your essays you have to submit, your standardized test scores, and then an application itself. And all of that was like paper. So it took a very long time. And so as I was looking at what I needed to do, and I asked the coach, should I even bother? It was really like, look, if I get started, I don't want to waste my time. But again, being naive high school student, I had no idea what it was going to do for me later. And it single-handedly changed the trajectory of my entire life. And my dad was super excited to know that I was going to the Naval Academy, following his steps and joining the military. Now, he was enlisted. He wasn't an officer. So even conversations with him was more of like sea stories when it came to the military, things that him and his buddies got into.
He was probably out on a submarine and stuff like that.
No, he was on a ship.
Okay.
But he was still raising hell too.
Yeah.
So, but he was really excited when I started to express interest in the Naval Academy. And for me, as a high school student, what really drew me to the Naval Academy specifically was a guaranteed job after graduation. As I saw many high schoolers from my school go to college, and then I would see them like bagging groceries. And I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? First of all, we're at a college prep school. Why are you not there? And I wasn't fully understanding what was happening. Was this just a side job while you're in college? Was this a screw it, I'm not going to college anymore. This is me. And it just really kind of opened my eyes when I started seeing the kids I used to walk the halls with out in the real world, and they're doing something that I know I didn't want to do. Initially, it really wasn't, and I can be honest, it really wasn't about being a part of something greater than myself. I think that was something that came as I got to learn more about the Naval Academy, what it can do, what the people there do while they're there, and afterwards what they can become. But before, it certainly wasn't that, because I was naive. I didn't know what it was. So I was accepted. And the Naval Academy has an 8% acceptance rate.
Wow.
And, that's something that I really don't lead with when I'm talking to students, because in the Black and brown communities, we don't hear a lot about service academy opportunities, because if you get accepted, it's a full scholarship. It is a full ride and a guaranteed job afterwards, working directly in your field. And then beyond that, the benefits are just amazing. And there's some things you're just not going to hear as a high school student. You can say all of this to a high school student and it's just going to go right over the head. But yeah, so I mean, the Naval Academy was a lot of work. I had fun moments. It was not always a fun place to be. I remember somebody told me it was another grad, and I don't remember what his name was. Another grad before I ever got there. So this was prior to 2003. Shh, I'm not old. He said the Naval Academy is a great place to be from, not at.
Oh, wow.
And I did not get it. And once I graduated.
Was he telling you get out somehow, or like?
No. So what he was saying is that it's going to suck while you're there because it does. It's a military school. You're going to go through your the phase where they break you down and then build you back up. And you're going to enjoy none of that.
The G.I. Jane, Officer and a Gentleman.
Yeah.
Louis Gossett Jr.
Right.
versus Richard Gere. I saw that movie.
So it's going to be hard while you're there. You probably won't like it. But once you get out, it is going to be amazing.
I saw the SEALs on here. Did you do BUDS training or did you not? Because that's always been controversial.
Women still can't be SEALs.
It can't, really.
So when I worked with SEAL Team 18, I was working with them more of in a support role. And I remember when I told my dad, "Hey, Dad, I'm stationed with the SEAL Team unit." And he was like, "Oh, can I tell people my baby's a SEAL now?" I'm like, "No, Dad, because we still can't be SEAls." And actually, you know what? There was a woman that recently.
I think so. I thought I read something
but yeah, and she was the very first one.
Yeah.
So at the time that I was,
has that all softened? I've heard, like. You've been in leader cast here with the chamber before, and we've had some speakers that were military guys that are now written books on leadership, and they and like the gist that I get was that like the old days, if you were doing some sort of training, you'd be high. Let's say you had to rappel across some canyon. If you fell, you fell, and now they'll put a net or something. In other words, like that, the whole intake process has gotten softer. Is there some truth to that, or did you feel?
So you know what? I won't speak on the SEALs because I can't. I don't have firsthand experience there with their intake and training. But I can say every class at the Naval Academy thinks that the class behind them is softer. Right. And it really is unfair. Yeah. I can't sit here today and say it's really unfair, but I was certainly one of the ones that was like, "Oh, you guys are soft. We used to do it back in my day." It's one thing.
It's like that in the fraternity too.
Because when I was going through Plebe Summer.
The older you get, I think the harder you pledge, though. The hard, you know what I mean? Your memories become.
Yes. I mean, my dad walked to school in the snow in Jamaica. So.
Oh, no.
Right. So he definitely took that one to the head, too.
Yeah.
But so, I always said that when we were going through Plebe Summer, that's like the summer before your freshman year.
Yeah.
It's like your basic training. And we would get dropped in the middle of the halls. We have to do push-ups, all these different exercises, rifle PT, all these different things. And then the following summer, they had AC installed in the halls. And so, of course, now that means every class after that is soft because you got AC for your summer. So everyone says we had the last real plebe summer.
Right.
And so that's like a thing that Naval Academy grads say. Like, no, my class had the last real plebe summer.
So I want to get down to what happened to you. Did you have an epiphany or a God moment or something during your time at the Navy that made you want to start this organization? Because a lot of people, they just don't think of giving back when they come out. They feel like, okay, I've accomplished that. Now I'm just going to collect my retirement, or whatever you guys call it, your pension or what have you. But you came out like with this vigor of doing something to help other veterans transition out. And what was the nucleus of that?
So right now, there's a statistic, and I'm going to quiz you. Do you know how many veterans a day commit suicide?
I think it's something like 21.
Very close.
20.
22.
22.
22 a day.
Wow.
That's
sad.
the statistic. And so depression, anxiety, mental disorders, PTSD, all of these medical issues, I'll call them, are very prevalent with our military veterans. And it is not something that is not prevalent with civilians, because really and truly, there are a lot of civilians that are suffering from the same things that don't even know it as well. And especially in Black American communities, we don't ever go and get treated or
Right.
talk about it. It's
Right.
not something that we're even told to, hey, go see a therapist. It's kind of taboo to
Right.
talk
It's
to
like
a
you're weak or
therapist.
something. Or,
Right.
Or there's trust issues too.
Exactly.
I think we don't see enough therapists that look like us, so we feel like, well, they're not going to understand my
they
problems.
won't understand.
Yeah.
So, I can acknowledge as I say what I'm about to say that it's not specific to military, but it is something that the government has been doing their best to kind of wrap their arms around.
Yeah.
I was just speaking yesterday at an event, and I was mentioning how, when I came out of the Naval Academy, I went onto a ship. I was 21, 22, and I was on a multi-billion-dollar warship, right? And I'm calling the shots. When I go up to the bridge, I'm driving the ship.
Wow.
I'm calling the shots. I'm telling. So as the officer, I don't actually have my hands on the helm, but I'm calling the orders to the guy, right, who has his hands on the helm, who's driving the ship. And that's a big deal. You have hundreds of people that are on that ship as you're moving it. And you're able to hold weapons, shoot weapons. You get out of the military, you transition into a civilian job, and your manager doesn't even trust you to present the Excel document on Monday at the meeting. Right. Wait, what? And so that's where does that purpose come in at now? Right. Now I'm in the civilian job. I don't feel passionate about what I'm doing. I don't have that same purpose that I had when I was in the military, when they literally trusted me with hundreds of people's lives. And now it's just like,
you're back to your normal person.
Yeah, right.
Or whatever.
Right. And so a lot of veterans can get lost in that feeling.
I will share one example. A friend of mine he's still in the Navy. He made a career out of it, and he was in BUDS, SEALs. And I remember at one point he was looking for a job as a fireman. And so he came to my house. He was using my phone. He was looking for work. And when he called, I guess the fireman on the other end answered the phone and said, like, Fairfield Fire Department, what's up? And that threw my friend Brian completely off. Like, he was just like, what do you mean, what's up? Because he was still,
I was like triggered by that too.
Yeah, he was definitely triggered. And he ended up, like, I don't know, slamming the phone and was just so outraged at the way he was being spoken to. But it's that I realized then that there's this big transition from a military life to civilian life. And I had to say, like, hey, like, that's how everybody kind of talks to each other out here. But he was expecting something more respectful, more structured, pecking order or chain of command.
Yep.
He was used to all those things. Yep. And he did end up becoming and retiring from being a firefighter. But I think he because that kind of role still had that rank and file that he was used to. And so I think you can see the difference. Obviously, it was like a very big contrast between military life and civilian life in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you go into the military, especially as an officer, you're definitely wet behind the ears. Let me say that much, because you get there and most brand new officers are 21, 22. You will have some that are prior enlisted and will cross over from enlisted to being an officer, and so they're older, but the majority of new young officers are 21, 22. So you think about that, you have officers that are in charge, they outrank all of the enlisted. So you'll have an enlisted person that has been in the military for 20 years. They're not 21, 22, but they're still calling you sir and ma'am.
Now, why? I still want to get to the why of this. Why do you feel that you were the one that needed to create this organization?
So my husband and I, Loni Richards, he's Air
shout
Force,
out to
boo, sound guy.
Chair Force. There you go.
Thank you. Finally. So, we had been doing a lot in the community around here. we sit on the board at the Boys and Girls Club. I sit on the board at Julia Day Nursery in Ansonia. I sit on the board at the workplace.
Yep.
And then being members of the chamber, we get around a lot. So, and we're very passionate about youth and education. And so as we started getting involved in these different areas or these different organizations and doing things in the community, one day we were asked, hey, can you help us put on a charity fashion show? Because this was at the Boys and Girls Club. One of the staff members said, hey, help us put on this charity fashion show because I have a friend that was diagnosed with osteosarcoma cancer and we want to raise money. And I said, yes, absolutely. I love that cause. Let's help out. And that's one of my other backgrounds, modeling and acting. So I jumped on board. We did the whole thing. It was a very good show. It got picked up for Connecticut Fashion Week. Access TV sponsored the red carpet. So very successful show. And we raised about $1,200 to give to the young lady's family for her treatment. After months of planning for this event and a really, really good show, models, everything, designers came through, everything, it was really, really good. We realized we could have done a lot better if we were a nonprofit or even if her family started some type of trust or some type of nonprofit in her name, we could have gotten corporate donations.
Right.
People could have gotten write-offs because
you could have raised $12,000.
Right. And when we raise that money as private citizens, now we get hit with the bill later. So that's not something people really talk about, but I think we should, because as we're trying to do good in the community, we got to do it a smart way.
Exactly.
And so I said, you know what? Never again. Not that way. We're going to do this the smart way. And so we decided, let's start service after service, because we're starting to do things now in the community that is having a bigger impact. And we want to be able to do it the right way.
And what is its mission in a nutshell?
So our mission is to help veterans get back out into the community. So service after service is helping veterans to serve again. When you're active duty, you're serving, there's purpose, you're fulfilling your passions. And when you get out, we want to help you identify or remember what your passion is and then do more of it. And we feel that once you're doing working more in your passion every day, the less you're thinking about suicide.
That's powerful. All right, we're going to go into a speed round because I want to get to these other things before we wrap up. You were downtown the last time I went to like a ribbon cutting at the 415 Howe Ave, and now it looks like you guys moved to Ansonia. Tell me about the move and how did the pandemic affect the organization?
Wow. Okay, so we've moved again.
Okay.
So we moved to Ansonia, property that we had there, and that was great. The pandemic the pandemic affected so much. As we had a program that we were running called Healthy Meals Program, and that was with Panera Bread. And then we would take the name of the veterans organization slipped my mind yesterday too. When there's a veterans organization near the VA hospital. We used to take the bread, the day-in donation from Panera, and we'll take it over to this veterans house near the VA hospital. And, they told us, don't bring any more bread.
Right.
And so we had to tell Panera, we don't know if we can come get any bread because we have nowhere to bring it because we've been told don't bring it because of the pandemic. So that program kind of hit a hard stop. And then we had one of our other programs at the Boys and Girls Club. We started a track program there. The kids would get track shoes that they wouldn't have to pay for. That stopped too because everybody stopped. Everybody had to stay home, and so
it was like a lockdown.
Right. So needless to say, I have some track spikes at home now in the basement. But so our programming that where we were actually out, boots on ground in the community, hit a hard stop. So we definitely were hit hard there. So now we're getting ready to ramp back up as like every other business.
Yeah.
But as we're ramping back up, our focus is going to be more on other veterans that want to continue running programs that they are passionate about. And that's where we want to direct the funds.
Okay.
So if there are veterans that are interested in, pursuing their passion a smart way and sharing that with others, then certainly hit us up, and we are more than happy to discuss
What's
how
the best
we can
way
do that.
for them to contact you?
They can. I'm about to get my number out. I can't believe it. You know what? My email is Loni.Richards@serviceafterserviceinc.org.
Okay.
So don't forget the INC, or it'll go to somebody else. I don't know who that is.
Okay. serviceafterserviceinc.org.
Yes.
Excellent. So that's the best way to reach her.
Yes.
And real quick, you guys are, always coming up with the next big thing. What's the latest on the Green Thumb app?
So we started developing an app, and it actually came into existence because we travel a lot, and we didn't want our neighbors to hate us because our yard looked crazy. So we had to figure out, how do we get our grass cut? And so out of necessity, some of the best inventions are out of necessity. And so we developed an app called Green Thumb. And it's currently in testing phase, but we are not quite ready to launch just yet. We are going to, we just don't want to do some quick, shoddy launching job, because we're really passionate about the app and we're excited about the app. So we want to do it right. So we're going to get it fully tested and vetted, and then we will start marketing. So if it means launching in 2023, then that's what it means. But we just want to make sure that we're doing it right, because you got to have the right the funds behind it too.
Yeah.
So,
and I believe everything has its time.
Yes, me too.
It'll
me
happen.
too.
It will definitely happen. So, excellent. So the future of service after service right now is you kind of want to be almost like a source of funding for other veterans that have their ideas, bring them to you, and then you guys can vet them out and help them kind of reach their goals.
Yes, absolutely. And we're still fiscal sponsors as well. So we do act as fiscal sponsors for those that want to start a nonprofit, or if they say, hey, I don't want to start a nonprofit, I just want to perpetually live under a fiscal sponsor. We're a fiscal sponsor as well. So
excellent. Well, thank you. You're doing such amazing work, such important work. And we definitely, I'm not going to let you off the hook that easy. You got to let everybody know about Dancing with the Stars, because you busted my chops when I did that. What kind of dancing are you going to be doing?
So we're doing some salsa.
Okay.
And you will have to tune in to see what song we are dancing to.
Okay. Because we're working on the creative, so we're like, oh, okay, Loni's on here on the poster. So that should be fun. And what's the date for that?
October 15th.
Okay.
So what's that, in 2 weeks?
Couple weeks. And how are you feeling about your dance moves?
Really good. So I am a dancer.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Ramon.
Okay.
I did ballet for 8 years.
All right. So this will come natural.
Yeah. So I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah, good.
I'm having a lot of fun. It's really, really fun. Supports Adam's House.
Yes.
So vote for Ned and Loni. Ned is my professional dancer out of Fred Astaire Orange. So shout out to them. And we're actually dancing to it's the Afrobeats song. But that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. You have to tune in to see what we do, or come out to the event, actually. Tickets are on sale. And vote. So tickets are, I think, $80 a ticket. And then the votes are $10 a vote. And voting is open now. So vote for Ned and Loni. Don't vote for anybody else. Vote for Ned and Loni. I'm supposed to do this, right?
Yes. Go for it. And Adam's House is a great cause here in the Valley.
Yes.
They help kids going through trauma and loss.
Yes.
Things like that. So thank you. You're doing so much. You've done an amazing job with Winter the whole time. You're an amazing mom.
Thank you.
So thanks for making time to be with us here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. And I'm glad she was behaving herself.
Best Behaved Baby Award. All right. Thank you. Thank you for being on our show.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, thanks everyone for listening to this episode of Mission Control. Until next time, this is Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands.
Thank you for taking this journey with us. To learn more about Peralta Design and our work, go to www.peraltadesign.com and subscribe to keep up with the crew.